No. For your information, I wasn't looking at you. I just thought I saw a spider. Amelia was a brilliant woman, but a terrible liar. Javier pulled his pants up, smirking as he fastened his buckle. Must have been a pretty big spider. This shameless man will be the death of her. She narrowed her eyes in a stubborn retort. It was average and quite unimpressive. Desperate to save herself from further humiliation, Amelia spun around and bolted before he could see her cheeks flush with embarrassment. Javier chuckled to himself. Teasing Amelia might be his new favorite hobby. Amelia ran straight to her bathroom, wanting to hide. She stared at herself in the mirror, her cheeks still red from the incident. How mortifying. How did the simple task of grabbing her workbook land her head first in Javier's crotch? And he caught her staring right at it. Saw a spider? Really, Amelia? That was the best you could come up with? Moving into this place was a mistake. Unless I can avoid that man altogether, I'm likely to never know peace. Just then, the image of a smoldering Javier standing in his boxer briefs popped into her mind, and a warmth shot through her all over again. Amelia quickly splashed water on her face, hoping that would wash away the memory. She was furious with herself for letting that arrogant man get inside her mind like this. Suddenly, Max's voice interrupted her thoughts. The butler said you forgot this. Amelia looked down to see Max holding her workbook. After that whole fiasco, she was in such a hurry to leave the study that she forgot the only thing she went there for. Mommy, you're all red. Are you sick? Do you have a fever? Her eagle-eyed 5-year-old fired off a barrage of questions. Oh, were you doing your exercises? Each question made her want to bury her head deeper into the ground. Yes, Mommy is red from exercising. I was just about to come to sleep with you, like I promised. You were going to come to bed without a bath? Max asked, bothered. That's so unfair. Why do I have to shower before bed, but you don't? Amelia couldn't hold back her laughter. This little one was the best cure for a bad mood. Max was her greatest love. And with each passing day, she was more certain she would do absolutely anything for him, like sharing a home with an egomaniacal prince. Come, let's go to bed, baby. Max pretended to be upset. I'm not a baby. He stretched out his tiny arms. Carry me to bed. Amelia crouched down, and Max hugged her neck so she could lift him. She held him tightly in her arms. Once Max was back in bed, Amelia whispered, By the way, what are you doing up? I thought you'd be sound asleep by now. Max sighed and turned to face the wall, avoiding his mother's gaze. I heard a car outside my window and saw Dad was home. I thought maybe he'd come say goodnight, so I stayed awake. Amelia nodded. He had a long flight. I think he was tired and went to bed, baby. But I bet he can't wait to see you for breakfast tomorrow. She rubbed her son's back, wishing she could make everything okay for him. Still facing the wall, he spoke softly. Do you think Dad changed his mind about wanting me? Those words shattered Amelia's heart. She hated seeing Max feel unwanted by his father, especially since they had only recently discovered each other. Despite wanting to avoid Javier after the zipper fiasco, she knew she would soon have to confront him about this. Amelia wrapped herself around Max. My little moon. It's impossible not to want you. Do you know why? Because you taste like cotton candy. She playfully nibbled his ear, making him giggle. They fell asleep and cuddled together. Then later in the night, Amelia was awakened when she sensed another presence in the room. She cracked open her eyes and saw Javier standing quietly in Max's doorway. In silence, she watched him crouch down to kiss Max's forehead and pull his blanket up to his little chin. The affectionate gesture surprised Amelia and brought warmth to her heart. The next morning, Amelia and Max followed their usual morning routine. They spent 10 minutes lazing in bed without speaking a word, then shared their plans and expectations for the day before they jumped out of bed and happily made their way to the dining room. There, they found Javier already seated at the table, reading the newspaper. He looked so serious and regal. Javier looked up, and when Amelia met his gaze, she felt all the embarrassment from the previous night wash over her again. But when she saw Max frozen in place, as if questioning whether he could run up to his father or not, she knew she had to be brave and break the ice first. "Top of the morning, Prince Javier," she greeted him cheerily. Javier furrowed his brow, caught off guard by Amelia's jolly tone. Shouldn't she be hiding after last night's zipper mishap? Not a morning person, he responded with a cold grunt. "Hello." Amelia kept up her spirited act as she served fruit for herself and Max. The boy had grown quiet, his mood dampened by his father's lackluster greeting. "Dad," he finally said, making Javier look up from his newspaper. "What's that long paper you're reading?" Javier frowned slightly. "This? You've never seen a newspaper?" Max shook his head. Javier motioned for Max to come closer. "As a fan of CNN, you'll appreciate this. It's a printed compilation of yesterday's news. Look, here's the politics section, here's sports, and even the weather forecast for Miami." Max studied it curiously. "But you're rich. Why don't you buy a tablet like normal people to read the news online?" Javier chuckled, and Amelia couldn't help but laugh along before gently scolding her son. "Max!" Javier, however, seemed amused. "It's all right. This is a habit I learned from my father, and maybe one day you'll pick it up as well. It brings me good memories. When I travel, I use a tablet too, like normal people." The three of them laughed, and Max took the opportunity to move closer to his father. Staring bashfully at his feet, he spoke softly. "Your trip was long. I thought you weren't going to come back because you didn't want me anymore." This time, Amelia stayed quiet, giving Javier the chance to step up to his role. The prince placed his hand on Max's small shoulders. "You're my son. I will always want you, Max. And I will always come back for you." Amelia was mesmerized by Javier's sweet response, but she could tell that Max needed more reassurance. So she chimed in. "Max, you can trust your dad. I'm sure he'll never lie to you. Right, Javier?" Javier realized the implication of that question. It was no time for empty promises. He turned to Max and nodded solemnly. "Never." Cheered up again, Max returned to his seat, and Amelia handed him his favorite breakfast, a slice of cinnamon toast. He took a bite and let out an adorable hum of delight. Mommy, this is the best one you've ever made. You should make one for Dad, too. Daddy, you have to try Mom's cinnamon toast." Realizing his reading time was over, Javier put down his newspaper. "Is that so?" Amelia felt awkward, but decided to play along. She prepared a slice of toast with butter, sugar, and cinnamon, then offered it to Javier. But when she went to hand it over, Javier glanced at the butler, who then nervously intercepted the toast. Sorry, Miss Rivera, but Prince Javier cannot eat that. He has misophonia. Amelia was taken aback, while Max's curiosity piqued. What's that, Dad? Do you have an allergy? Mr. Grant began to explain. Sir, Max, misophonia is a... Javier interrupted. That's okay, Mr. Grant. Max, you know how some people are afraid of heights, others of snakes? Well, I have a problem with germs. Amelia did not expect to learn that this seemingly untouchable man had such a big vulnerability. She wondered, next time he pisses me off, should I get revenge by poking my fingers in all of his food? She chuckled at the thought. Just then, the butler slipped on a pair of gloves and proceeded to prepare a slice of toast. I watched how Miss Rivera made it. I'll prepare a similar one for the prince. Javier stood abruptly. That won't be necessary. I have a busy day ahead. And with that, Javier left. Amelia worried about how Max would take his father's abrupt departure, but when she turned to him, he was happily devouring his extra piece of cinnamon toast. Amelia's office was buzzing with activity. The High Commissioner of Foreign Affairs was scheduled to meet with Mexico's Prime Minister, and everyone was on edge. Though Amelia was still an intern, she couldn't afford to make any mistakes. When the procession of sleek cars arrived, Amelia straightened her posture and exchanged an excited glance with her best friend, Faith. The vehicle stopped, and the Prime Minister stepped out accompanied by his entourage. From a distance, Amelia noticed a familiar face among them. Her breath caught, and her pulse quickened. It had been years since she'd seen him, but as he approached, his tall, muscular frame and striking features erased any doubt in her mind. Charles Dawson. That was the young man she had loved and left behind to spare him the burden of raising a child that wasn't his. Charles looked even more distinguished and handsome than she remembered. When their eyes met for a fleeting moment, his expression darkened, loaded with emotion, before she quickly looked away. Faith nudged her. Girl, that was totally your ex. When I heard the news, I didn't think you'd still be this hot. Damn. Still stunned, Amelia turned to her friend. What news? You haven't heard? Faith said, her tone teasing. Charles just moved back from the East Coast. You two are gonna see a lot of each other from now on.